There's this assumption that we usually have that because something is online or because something is digital, it's automatically accessible.
Yes. True.
And I've come to the conclusion that it is not. Right? Even though we are using this technology, subconsciously we feel we are including other people, but then we are also really not including them, we are leaving them out. Right? So
I don't know if this is happening. I'm not sure if it is happening in your country, but I know for sure in my country now, Kenya, it's some teachers are doing that,
okay.
but some are not. So why is there this gap that there are some who are doing it and some are not doing it? And you get that most of them we have gone through the same education system. So what is that gap?
It can also be about maybe the training they got before they were accepted into the teaching profession. Because we've been for the past 1 year, we've been assessing the education systems about different countries, and specifically when it comes to teacher training. So one thing we realize is most educational systems don't really incorporate these elements into the training that they offer their teachers, these strategies. And I think in Kenya, maybe you guys have come to the realization that I think it's necessary, that you have this. But in Sierra Leone, I think it's quite the opposite. There are a lot of inequalities when it comes to access to education, and I think one of the reasons is because teachers don't really have the know-how on how to even deal with students who are differently able, or students who are going through mental issues or problems. So I think one of the main reasons as to why Kenyan is doing it and Sierra Leone is not doing it, I think it's because of the training that they are exposed to. So, but they are very, very relevant because you cannot really teach students effectively if you don't incorporate that empathetic element.
True.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think it's a must. That education system actually give these trainings to their teachers before even offering them a job in the teaching profession.
Yeah, I think those are very powerful because you're first of all a person before you even get into that profession. You're first of all a person. Maybe me as Gertrude before I become a student or any other thing. Maybe a sister, a daughter. You're first of all a person, and it's very powerful. So there's the cognitive dissonance and selective.
Social perspective taking, putting yourself in another person's shoe, and then the cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, cognitive dissonance. So please, those are points to note. Have your notebook wherever you are. Anyway, so and there's a point you brought up at the beginning of the conversation, and this was about the Neuralink, the brain chip that Elon Musk's company is trying to build. And I saw they had even already done a test on a human. I think it was last month. Yeah. So you had brought this aspect of how this AI or how this brain chip is going to actually help people who are differently abled. Would you maybe just help us understand how can maybe teachers, or how can such technologies, it might not be the Neuralink itself or any other brain chip technology, but how can teachers or people around, maybe parents living with people who are differently abled, use this technology to help in maybe increasing their capacity to also achieve in their purpose or in whatever they need to do in life and just be successful as well.
Yeah. So I think one of the things I'm most excited about technology being integrated into schools, I think we can actually include people who have been marginalized for a very long time. Because for me, education is very important to our existence. Because, for example, in my country, for you to be employed, you need to have at least a degree, right? So it's simply saying if you don't even have a degree, so it means you are being left out. All right. So that is how important education is in my country. So and with technology, I think the future is very exciting in terms of how do we include people who have been marginalized before, especially people who are differently abled, right? But then there is this assumption that we usually have that because something is online or because something is digital, it's automatically accessible.
Yes. True.
And I've come to the conclusion that it is not. Right? Even though we are using this technology, subconsciously we feel we are including other people, but then we are also really not including them. We are leaving them out. Right? So there are so many ways we can leverage these technologies to help differently able people. For example, I think the other day we were having a conversation when your first video came out. So I told you about, doing the caption, for example. So caption can be an example of how we include different people. And I think it's not just people who are who are deaf, all right, or maybe people who cannot visually impaired. It's not only for them. But then giving your video caption, I think it can also be relevant. It means you are also including international students who cannot really, translate what you are saying. But then with the caption, I think they could. Or maybe you can be maybe in a library, but you want to watch the video, but you can use the audio. So, but then, yeah, but with the caption, you can still watch the video without listening to the audio. So it means we are including different people who does not even have physical disabilities. And another example is also, alternative text. I don't know whether you've heard of alternative text.
I've just seen alt text.
Yeah, alt text. Yeah, that's the abbreviation. So alternative text is like given a description. For example, if you include a picture, let's say, for example, in a Word document. So if people are reading the document via a screen reader, for example, visually impaired people usually rely on screen readers. So if you don't give alternative text to that picture, they are not going to get what that picture is about. So it's about describing your picture. That is what alternative text is about. So it's not only limited to pictures as well, but also graph. For example, if you include graph or pie charts, anything that has some picture element that you feel, for example, somebody who is visually impaired cannot see. Because they rely on the screen reader, you have to describe that picture. So that's where the alternative text comes in. So if you don't use alternative text when you include pictures in your document, whether it's PDF or just Word, so it means you are excluding those people. Yeah.
I think those are things that we don't do intentionally.
Exactly.
But like we are for sure. But like I didn't know.
Yeah, but I think that's something we need to really start being intentional about, especially when we're also trying to maybe also even create content or try to reach out to different people. That was very eye-opening to us.
especially also those, like, you see the way content creation is upcoming right now, those are things that even us we didn't know about until you brought it to our attention, and I think it is actually helping a lot.
Okay.
I can actually relate to that, the one that you are in the library and you need to listen to something and
Oh,
you
yeah.
just, you're like, why can't I just see the subtitles?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah. So we don't really look too much at this element because we feel they are not important. So our focus really is about the big stuff. For example, if somebody is visually impaired, you want to provide a braille because that's how they read. It's good, right?
Yeah.
And for example, if somebody also is deaf, you want to provide maybe an assistive device that would help them to hear. All of those ones, yeah, they are very important. But then if you ignore the little ones as
Yeah.
well, indirectly you are also like excluding those people
So true.
because all of those elements actually constitute educational technologies. So educational technology is not just the physical gadget. It's also about the software that you use, all right, to provide the content that you are providing. So if you are providing the physical gadget to bridge the gap, and then also you need to focus on the software aspect also, bring the inclusive element in the software aspect as well. And then it's another aspect also is the color you use. Some people are color blind. So if the color you are using is not blending, say for example, using odd colors together, like using yellow and mauve together, somebody who is visually impaired or maybe myopic, they cannot really see what is going on, right? So it can be very confusing for them to even look at the image and everything. So you always have to ensure that you actually blend colors that you think is very appropriate that can go together. For example, if you are using a white background, make sure the text is black. You know, colors that you feel that can go together.
Yeah.
So that can also be an element that we can focus on to bring to include people in educational content that we develop.
Okay, that was intense.
Yeah.
Let us try to lighten the room. I'll just try to.
Yeah.
I just have one question.
Yeah.
It's about self-awareness, because we are
Oh, yeah.
in this podcast. We preach self-awareness, self-confidence, personal development. So I think it is something that we would want to even like let our viewers know.
Okay.
How can we use technology and AI to be able to improve ourselves personally, from self-awareness to all the way to personal total development? Yeah.
Okay. So I think it depends on your preference, right? So you need to look at I mean the area that you want to improve on, because there are a lot of technologies, and then these technologies are offering us the possibilities to do things differently, right? And so, for example, if I'm a student, and of course there are lots and lots of technology out there that will actually make my schoolwork very very efficient, right? So I think in order for you to decide as to which one is appropriate, I think you also need to ask yourself, what area do you want to improve in? For example, if I want to make my presentations, as professional as they can get, for example, I can use a technology called SlideGo. So SlideGo basically allow you to develop slides, professional slides,
Yeah.
in few minutes.
Yeah, true. I've tried it.
You've tried it.
Yeah.
It's very efficient, right? So, for example, if you are about personal development, there are so many applications out there, that actually help you to enhance in that area. So it's about identifying the area you want to improve, and then look what technologies are available to you that can actually help you to improve and do things differently. So we don't just choose the technology because we want the technology, right? Because you have to be very mindful not to use the technology to do the same thing. The essence of the technology is to improve on what you're already doing,
Yes.
Yeah.
right? So that is why I think the course I'm doing is very, very important, because so many teachers are just like grabbing whatever technology, the new ones. Yeah, once they hear about the technology, now they want to use it. Why are you using the technology is the big question.
It's available because it's available.
Exactly. So, but it's actually an art, how you can actually determine which one is appropriate, right? I think that's where a knowledge in education and technology is very, very, very important, because we want to avoid the situations whereby teachers are using the technology to do the same thing over and over.
Yeah,
It
true.
doesn't make any difference, because the technologies are offering us all of these possibilities that we can exploit. So if we keep doing the same thing with the technology,
Then why are we using the technology in the first
exactly,
place?
is the big question.
That's very powerful. And I think in line with all these technology issues, like we've had so many people say so many times, like technology is here to stay, or AI is here to stay, like anything related to technology. If you don't embrace it, definitely you're going to be obsolete. If it's in a business, if it's even in your education, definitely. If you're not embracing technology, you might go out of business if it's a business, or you might be left out, and keep doing things the manual way, and you're really working hard instead of smart. So in relation to this, how fast do you think we should embrace technology? It can be as students, as teachers, as just someone who is interacting with technology. Because right now, even social media, you being on Facebook or on WhatsApp, that's technology. Or you even using phones, that's a technology on its own. How fast should we embrace this technology and not be left out in the mix?
I think as soon as you can. I think that would be my first response. So back to the point that technology offer so many possibilities for us to enhance whatever is it we are doing. In the education space, for example, there are so many things that students and teachers can do with the technology itself. But it's about the approach that you are using the technology for. So in educational technology space, we have different approaches that we think if teachers can actually use effectively, and then they can do so many good with the technologies that they are choosing. There are so many of them, and we don't have time to go into all of them.
Yeah.
But I love this particular one. It's called Pick Rat. PIC as in pick, and then we have RAT, rat. All right. So it actually helps teachers to assess the way that they are teaching the student, and then also it talks about student engagement level. The pick, for example, it's basically stand for passive, interactive, and then creative. So the question that the teacher might want to ask him or herself is the fact that, are you using the technology to actually get the student to be passive, or are you using the technology to enhance whatever is it that they want to do, or are you using the technology to enable them to learn differently, right? So the passive there, actually, I think the essence of the technology is for teachers to actually go beyond the passive state, because when students are passive, they don't contribute to anything, right? The teacher knows everything. They don't question anything. So they are like containers. The teacher is just filling them with knowledge.
But I'm thinking you just know the African setup. I'm so sure it happens in Sierra Leone as well. Yeah. It's like the teacher is always right. Sometimes you even join university and you see the lecturer as the person who is the lecturer is always right. until probably you're not even in a position to ask questions. Like, how can all this, like, how can we use technology and maybe just bring from the one you're saying, like pick rats or something? How can we really help teachers now really understand that they are probably not always right, and sometimes maybe they should allow and make the students be interactive and creative, and also just use these technologies to enhance their inner self, or you see that fire that's burning within themselves. Like, I don't know how, because you know the situation in back home.
Yeah, exactly.
And just on that, and maybe this is a teacher who has been doing it for a very long time, and their mindset to change is very limited, or rigid is the word. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So going back to the peak rat, so the reason why it's very important, so the teacher actually look at how they are teaching, which is the peak aspect, the rat aspect, I mean. So the R there is replace. Are you just using the technology to replace the traditional method? Let's say, for example, how you teach. So, for example, let's say you want to use Zoom, for example. Yeah. So instead of being in the physical classroom, so now you are using Zoom, the online classroom. So you are replacing the traditional approach with the Zoom. So the R is replaced. Are you just replacing the technology with the traditional method? And then the A is amplify. So the amplify, I think, is the idea that do you want to enhance on the traditional method that you are replacing the technology with? So instead of just using Zoom to do the same stuff you've been doing, you doing all the talking, and students are just there listening, without contributing anything. How can you use Zoom to actually change the way you've been teaching? Maybe, for example, it could be putting students in breakout rooms whereby they can discuss a topic, or maybe you can raise a question and then break the student into groups. And then they can go there, discuss in their subgroups, and then come back to the main group. That can be an example of how you can amplify using the technology. And then, so the A there is amplify, and then the T there is transform. So how do you use that technology to enable a different approach, all right, to actually bring creativity and interaction on how the students are actually learning? All right. So an example would be, for example, because Zoom can be an online classroom, and then you are replacing Zoom with a physical classroom. So now, how can you use Zoom to create an entirely different experience for the student? So you are not just using Zoom to teach, or maybe breaking them into different groups to discuss ideas. How can you do something you've never done? Transform.
Yeah.
So, for example, it could be taking them on a field trip, a virtual field trip.
Oh,
Wow.
I wanted to say the money.
Virtual field trip.
And then you just rectified it actually.
For example, I remember when I was in university, there was this professor, like he was all from year one until fourth year. He made the promise, like when we were in year one, that we were going to go to this particular organization on a field trip, which we never went.
You went virtually.
No, I did not even go virtually.
So physically we could not be there, but virtually it's possible now.
Yeah.
So it's a way like you can transform, use technology to transform. All right. So when you go back to the peak, which is the passive, so if you use the technology to amplify what you are doing and then transform to enable a different experience for students, you are moving beyond the passive state. So students are no longer passive.
Yeah, true.
So now they can experience the whatever you are talking about firsthand, the virtual field trip, for example. Let's say it's a museum, a visit to the museum. There are so many online museums that you can go to. Students are not physically there, but they can see exactly what is going on there.
Yeah.
So the idea of a museum has changed, right?
Yeah.
And then when you break them into different groups to discuss different topics, they are exchanging ideas with one another. So, for example, if you had this misconception or maybe this belief about a particular topic, so hearing from other people will validate whether the idea you had is true or false. And that way you can also develop new ideas as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so powerful and like so informative. Me in my mind, I'm like, I think even the rat can even happen with students as well.
Oh, yeah.
Like whatever information that you have, how can you replace that? How can you amplify it? How can you transform? And even like just our lives generally.
Yeah.
I think the rat aspect can be able to fit in there depending with how you want it to be transformed to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we've seen you being very active on YouTube, like doing very informative videos. And I was even talking to Eda, and she was like, these things are exactly what I keep looking for. And I'm like, I can't find them anywhere. And then when she noticed, like, you're doing those videos, like the tutorials, and she's like, how can you even understand all these things? And then you're very consistent. Like, how would you possibly say, like, how did you like start it off, or what really inspires you to really share educational and technological related content to people around them, like around you, or just using these platforms?
Yeah. And so when I was working in schools with teachers, so I mentioned earlier about working with teachers initially to develop a platform whereby teachers can develop their notes and put them there so students can access easily. So there was a pushback. At first, when I initiated the idea, they loved the idea. But then when it comes to the implementation,
You're
everybody was taking a step back. But then I think their fear was that with these technologies, they foresee a future whereby it's going to replace them in the classroom. So imagine, for example, students don't have to come to school, but they can access the learning material in a platform. Right? So I think my idea of creating the YouTube channel, I think it's actually was informed by those experiences. So instead of really like being afraid of the technologies, I think they were reacting the way they were reacting. It's because they didn't know about the technologies themselves.
True.
So if you don't know about computers and you are encountering computer for the first time, you'll be fearful of the computer. But then what if somebody can teach you how to work with the computer itself? So I think it's the same ideology. All right. So what if teachers can actually learn what these are? I think they will be less fearful. All right. And then I think they will come to the acknowledgement that it's actually not going to replace them, but it's actually just to enhance and bridge the gap between, their teaching and maybe where there are lapses as well. And so I thought to myself, I think most of what I do, what I put out there, these are stuff I've been using, and they've been very helpful. And so I thought to myself, okay, I think there are teachers out there or maybe students out there who can, also need some of these informations.
Yes.
So I just don't want to limit the information or maybe the experiences to myself, but also share. I think it goes back to cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, that's what I even wanted
The
to
more
say.
you preach something, the more likely.
You are.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I know you've understood.
Yeah, let me use those big words. I'm flabbergasted,
Okay.
I'm flabbergasted by the way you are calmly saying those things, and the way they are. For me, actually, the first time that I encountered their video, I was like, what are these things? Like, I know I have a problem, but I
Okay.
don't know how to get the solution. And in my mind, I'm not sure whether the solution is there.
Okay.
So it's just the same thing that you are saying, that we have technology, but we are not taking advantage of the technology as much as we need to take advantage of it. So I was in a position where I need something like this, but I really don't know where exactly that I need to get it. And maybe I'm a student and I need this information, but these things look so big in my mind.
So to understand them, because you can imagine, like, your videos are very precise and quite short and very informative at the same time. So you can imagine going to start researching for a very big topic, and I don't know, you'll use how many time, like how long to do them.
Yeah, but you're doing really well online there.
Thank you very much. And I'm happy that you find them very useful.
They are. I'm sure they're also helping somebody somewhere.
Yeah, that's actually the hope. I think the idea that I'm also a student, and most of my life I've also like worked with teachers. I think that has also been very helpful, as to how I actually do the videos themselves, because I can step into the shoe of a student because I'm a student. So I know exactly what you are looking for. And then for the teachers as well, I think I have an idea of what they are looking for as well. So I tap into those experiences and try to see if I can do something that is helpful.
Yeah. Wow. If you have not seen his videos, you need to see them. We will put the link on the description.
Right?
Empower.
Yeah. Empower. So we will put the link and then you can go. They're really helpful. So helpful. Yeah. And just in line with also the same, are there any current projects that you're running? Yes.
I have this big idea. Sometimes my dreams are very big.
They better
more
be.
than what I can do.
They're supposed to be big. What do you mean?
Just before you continue, I don't know, was it a president? But she was a lady from one of the African countries. I can't remember the name. It's so sad. But she was saying, if your dreams don't scare you, then you're not dreaming big enough. If it's something like you can just easily achieve, then probably you're not dreaming big enough. There's a reason as to why they are dreams,
Exactly.
It seems like something out of the reach. Yeah, continue.
So I've been recently doing my internship at this organization. They are into robotics. How do you incorporate robotics into STEM subject? So they specialize in creating curriculum for STEM subjects, science, math, technology, and the likes. So I think it's something I'm very interested in, and I think it might be very resourceful for teachers back home, because I don't know about Kenya, but like in my country, when it comes to science, math, technologies, and whatever that has to do with STEM, our students are always fearful. So I think where the robotics element is very helpful is the fact that it brings in that fun element, all right, that creative element that student can tap into. So you don't really focus too much on whether the math problem is hard, but then the fact that you are using the robotics themselves, I think that's more enticing and exciting. So looking at starting a similar project like back home, because my goal really after completing the entire program is to help teachers actually consider the possibilities of leveraging technologies into how they teach students.
Yes. I think it's important.
Yeah, because my focus always is inclusion. Yeah, because so many people have been left out. So the more we can include those people into education, because education is a lifeline.
Yeah.
Right? So
True. Actually, the theme for International Women's Day this year was inspire inclusion, and you're just speaking inclusion. It's now we are not only talking about women inclusion, but also like everyone, people who are
yeah.
yeah.
Really nice. Yes.
We are super glad to have you here. It was, I think, very informative. Maybe we might have you again.
Yeah, hopefully I would love to come.
Maybe to have an in-depth conversation because time is also limiting as well.
Okay.
But we are grateful that you honored our invite
The pleasure is
to
all
just
mine.
speak to students, teachers, people who just want to get into tech, all those matters, and how all those matters are included together to just form one big, massive transformation. Yeah.
And now, where can people get you if they want to reach out?
I'm on Facebook. The name is James Moinina Minah. I'm also on the Instagram, same name. And then for Facebook, my YouTube channel is at Tech and Power. Yeah.
So we will put all the descriptions and the links also as well. And make sure to also subscribe.
It is free.
Yeah, and it keeps repeating the same thing. Yeah, to subscribe to the channel and also share your views, your comments, and also what works for you in relation to education and also technology, and how you're also leveraging all this to help yourself just grow in all these aspects.
Yes.
Yeah, so until next time, bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.